say short answer, yes, definitely. I think that you know that because I feel like I've talked to you about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's like, I would say that, you know, there's kind of like two different tiers of it, maybe, like where there's the first tier being like there's always kind of an undercurrent of, you know, doubting yourself or doubting the sort of, or questioning the futility of painting and art making and all that, which I think is partly a cultural thing, right? We don't feel supported and valued a lot of the time. So that's kind of always just present, you know, if I take the time to think about it, but I just don't try not to. And then I think there have been like a few times, I mean, if I think about it, probably once a decade since I've been doing this, you know, like once in my 20s, once in my 30s, and once in my 40s, that I've like really thought about it in kind of like a, I don't know, part existential and part kind of like uh, just a sort of a tumultuous way, you know? Like where it just feels a bit like a crisis of identity. And I think I should probably have framed it to begin with that like in my soul, I know I'm not going to, you know, and even when I'm going through that crisis, I know I'm not going to quit. I mean, that's like so clear, you know, and yet it's very real, the doubts and the kind of desire to quit. So yeah, I don't know. I can tell you more about that or just leave it at yes.
Yes. Do you your mom's an artist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you think that having that lineage has informed in any way your sense of like placing yourself as an artist no matter what in your soul?
Yeah, 100%. I think my mom started painting when I was 5, so she kind of started later in life, and she had me at 35, so she started painting when she was about 40. And then her father was an artist, and he was
That's right. I knew there was a longer, I knew there was like a history in your family. Okay, cool.
yeah, and he was really successful. He did his early career was like illustration. He did like Saturday Evening Post covers, and then later he did a combination of like portraits and also just kind of his own like bodies of work that he would show. And he did, you know, he painted like Jimmy Carter and Princess Grace and people like that. So he was very successful. And so I grew up seeing, you know, seeing someone just killing it, you know, and having a great life, like
Yeah.
getting to travel and have children. He was a great father, a great grandfather, and he also worked really hard, and I watched that too. So that was really beneficial, I think, to like to kind of just have a little bit of a leg up of like what it looks like, you know, like he would get up at 5 in the morning and go work before breakfast and then come back and have breakfast with his family and then go work all day and then have dinner with his family. You know what I mean? I mean, it of course relied on there being a woman taking care of everything else for him. But
Yeah,
another
that's
podcast.
stuff we didn't think about until later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was very, you know, informative for me. And unfortunately, he passed away when I was about 20, so I never like was a practicing artist, you know, with him alive. I couldn't like consult him about things or anything like that, but I still have that model, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And are there other like, do you have a hunch as to what it would be, like what would fill your time if you weren't doing all of this, all of the, you know, the painting and all the things that surround?
Yeah. I mean, I think yeah, sure. I have fantasies. I mean, I think for me, my fantasies are like are kind of something that feels like very outside of myself, you know, like I would love to be like a nurse or a teacher or something where you're just not thinking about yourself at all. and you're like
Yes.
on someone else's time. You get a paycheck. You know what I mean? It's not self-starting. It's just like go in and help, and do. But I
Yeah.
know I would fall apart if I had a job like that. It's just
Yeah.
not what I'm built for at all. But that's the fantasy, right? I mean, I have more practical ideas of what I might do if I quit, but I do think, I mean, to your earlier question, it was like so ingrained in me from a young age that that's, and not by anyone else, just by, my own soul and spirit, that I am, meant to do this and get to do this and want to do this. And so I don't think I've ever really entertained like actually another job, like getting a degree or getting some other kind of training or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think it started really narrow and it's just kind of narrowed, since then. Like I didn't really start out thinking, oh, I'll be part of all these things and I can have these various kinds of jobs within this field. I really only wanted to be in the studio painting and I kind of chose that from the get-go. And kind of organize my life in such a way to like support that, which
Mhm.
I organized my life. I mean, I lived on next to nothing, and just kind of made a living selling paintings. And then obviously life like takes twists and turns and stuff, and that has worked to varying degrees, and I've had to kind of figure out other things. I mean, well, I shouldn't say I've never really figured out other things, meaning getting a job, but just, yeah, having a spouse, having real estate, kind of like you're saying, different ways to make money.
Yeah. Different ways that make us stable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, each time when I think back on like I'd say there's three different sort of these like crises that I refer to, and I think they were all for really different reasons. I think that the first one was financial. I was in my 20s and, feeling like, uh, is this going to work? Like late 20s, it had been working for several years, um, and yeah, I was questioning the sort of feasibility of it, and ended up making a couple of like bold choices, and they worked out, and it was great. Um, but that was kind of the first one, and then
Hmm.
I think the second one was after I had my daughter, because it just changes your relationship to your work so much.
But yeah, having the first two was like, it was kind of easier to make work in some ways. And I know it's like I wasn't getting sleep, but I had a more simple life. It was like I was embedded in our home. My studio's in the backyard at that point. Like there was just a lot, and maybe it was the first time I was able to privilege just my life, like
Yeah,
my home life and studio life. Cleo, I was much more like, it's cool. I did have one of those crises while I was pregnant with her. Didn't
yeah,
tell anybody, but I just was like, I can't, like, psychically, I have to figure out how to do this so it's not, so I'm privileging it, but I'm not like taxing my family a lot, whether it's through like paintings that they're gonna be like saddled with when I die, or all that. I did like a real,
yeah,
which we talked about a little bit, but
yeah.
yeah, I've had to just try to place it, and I've also,
Yeah, I feel like when I had the daughter, it wasn't, I mean, I did have a lot less time and the priority changed, of course. But it was also just, I feel like most of what we've talked about so far is kind of the pragmatic side of it a little bit.
right.
And I think there's also like, the artistic temperament, stereotypical temperament is kind of like the Enneagram 4, like a little bit dark and depressive, right? And
Are
so,
you a four?
yeah, yeah.
I'm a three with a four wing.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it turns out I'm an asshole.
Right. I think all of them turn out that way.
That's right. That's true. If not in health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I think there's also the part that's just um it's hard to make a good painting, right? It's hard to make a good piece of art, and if you care about it, then it can become like you can put a lot of pressure on yourself, and it can lead to like a decent amount of suffering, right? And so I think like 90% of the time I really love painting. I love paint. I love thinking of ideas for paintings. I love everything about it, and I feel so lucky that it's my job. But then that other 10% can sometimes kind of take you down, and yeah,
Yeah.
it just feels a little bit also like maybe you're not supported so much by various things in your community and culture. And so if there are some sort of chips, in your own psyche, um,
Yes.
then it's like, oh, how am I going to overcome this? Um,
Yes.
and I think when I had my daughter, there was a little bit of that, like, kind of staring down the barrel of my life and thinking like, okay, am I just gonna like make a painting, it goes above someone's couch, I put my kid to sleep, I make another painting, it goes above someone's couch, I put my kid to sleep. Like is it just rinse and repeat every day from here on out? Like, and I felt like the studio is adventurous enough, but I also like have kind of really relied on going into the world and looking around as like a big part of my practice. I mean, I go for walks every morning. I like literally go into the world and look around. And I
Yeah.
think I felt like, how am I going to do that with a kid? Like, I can get to the studio and I can paint,
Yeah.
or like look around and have that kind of open time, and you know, um,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How does your process? Yeah, I mean, my process is so interruptible,
Mm,
but your process depends on like a deep uninterruption. And
yeah.
I don't mean process like your painting process. I mean, yeah, like your research
Hmm.
is this other walking into a landscape and perceptual, I may be getting it wrong, but that perceptual experience of living.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And
Yeah.
I think I solved it by moving to Mexico. It just kind of I think it made me feel like, oh, I might be, in my 40s and have a young child and I'm married and live in my hometown, but I'm gonna like still go on adventures because I just have to. And I feel like this like part of my soul that just needs to like see stuff is gonna start to like
Mhm.
kind of shrink, and I wanted it to expand. So I think that was a big part of why we moved. And,
Wow.
I needed to be somewhere where it was just kind of wide open. A lifelong studio practice really, I think, develops capacity in
Yeah.
and courage and just sort of the ability to hold like a lot of messiness and also a vision. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful skill to have.